Hello, everyone. Welcome to another life changing edition of Faces of Resilience. This is your host, Furley Almonte. In this show, we showcase people like us who are ordinary but with extraordinary stories of resilience and now are changing lives. And today, I have an amazing guest who I actually got to know because I interviewed her for Speakers Need to Speak. She's one of the vetted professionals being featured there. And after speaking with her, I said, "Oh my goodness, there is so much that she can share with other people who are looking to transition in their careers but are very, very scared." People have life changing decisions when it comes to their careers because, for example, me, I was exposed to an occupational hazard and I was forced by life to change my careers. There are some people who may have the option of making a conscious decision to change the trajectory of their careers and still succeed, right? And so, one of the things that I want to also share with you is that being a Filipino, I guess, is an Asian thing. Everybody needs to go into healthcare. And so that's why even if I already got my bachelor's in business, I actually went to become a a respiratory therapist because they said that that is the career. Anything in healthcare would be the one that would give us steady income. Well, our
Mhm.
guest, Natalie Lavelock, is actually going to share with us how she was able to make a terrifying decision to change her career and now become one of the most successful business strategists, business development strategists out there who's helping a lot of people who are looking to transition in their careers. Welcome to the show, Natalie.
Thank you, Furley. It is such a pleasure to be your guest today.
My goodness, I know that you have shared with me that you used to be a nurse, but in a management
Mhm.
standpoint, right? Would you share with us your story?
Oh, absolutely. So, my background, I am a registered nurse. I have a master's degree in nursing education. And for over 15 years, it was
Mhm.
my job within the corporate healthcare setting to design training programs and teach the doctors and nurses at the bedside everything that they needed to know, the knowledge, the skills, everything they needed so that when seconds count, they could snap into action. They could be there ready, trained to take care of people whose life was on the line in a split second. And
Mhm.
I loved what I did. I absolutely loved what I did. And there came a time when I had incredible leadership. It was, we had a husband and wife team. The husband was the CEO of the hospital, and the wife was the director of nurses. They were very forward thinking. Somehow I had managed to earn enough trust and respect with them that basically anything that I wanted to do, anything that I could see vision for and lay out a plan for, they're like, let's go for it. Let's do it. Um, but eventually it came time for them to retire. And so when we had that administrative turnover in the organization, we brought on a new CEO, a new director of nurses, all at the same time. And their vision shifted. And they didn't, I mean, it's just the way it works. I'm not saying it was bad or anything like that, but it's just different. And so they came to me and they said, Natalie, we're going to be doing some restructuring. We're going to eliminate your role within the organization, but we'd like to offer you the opportunity for a promotion. We'd like for you to move into a management position. And so the very human side of me is like, oh, yes, this is the next rung on the ladder. Like, the nice office, the pay raise, the new title, all of that kind of stuff. But there were also two things that went through my head. One was that I, having worked for this organization for so long, I knew what it meant to be in a management role in that organization. And it meant that not only was I going to work 40 hours a week, but I was the first person they were going to call nights, weekends, holidays, anytime someone got sick, anytime there was a hole in the schedule, it was going to be my responsibility to come in and work. because we were a rural hospital, which means we don't have a lot of extra staff to be able to just call people in on a whim. So that all fell on the weight of the managers. And I had seen manager after manager after manager burn out because they were always on. They were always there. They didn't have a life. And eventually that just takes a toll on you. And I had already been on the cusp of that for a while and was already feeling like that. And I was thinking, oh, am I really going to jump out of the pot and into the fire? But more importantly than that, mhm, more importantly than that, I got to thinking about my three little boys at home. And I said, I could take advantage of this opportunity and stroke my ego, or but I would be giving up the most important job in the world. I would be giving up the job that God gave me to raise these little boys, to know Him, to love Him, and to be who He called them to be in the world. And so all of a sudden, all of the accolades, all of the ego, it just got chucked out the window. And I was like, okay, what's my other option? What are we going to do here? And in the time that I had to think about that, God really was calling me to step out in faith. He's like, I got you. I just need you to follow me. It's going to be okay. Well, that sounds great, but like, where's the tangibles in this, right? Like, what's this really going to be like? And I got the glimpse, I got the vision for starting my own consulting business. And so here I was in the midst of this decision, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this big leap, right? But every time you get ready to do something big, what happens? Little voices of fear and doubt, they start to sneak in. And here's what those voices were for me. Who do you think you are? You're just a little farm girl from the middle of nowhere. Do you really think you can make it in this world? Do you really think you have what it takes to run your own business? What kind of mother walks away from a steady paycheck, retirement, health insurance, all the benefits? Your kids are going to be homeless. You're going to lose your house. They're going to be starving. And it's going to be all your fault. And I know that sounds funny, but this is really what was going through my head. You know what? You know that little farm that your husband loves so much? You're going to lose that too.
What
Do
was
you
your husband's take on
really?
what you were going through at that time?
Oh, he didn't have the torment that I had. He knew. And he was like, "Girl, go for it." And I will say I'm very blessed in that everyone around me was like, "Go for it." We've seen you pioneer things before. We've seen you take on things that nobody else has taken on and forged that path. And we believe you can do it. I was the one who wasn't sure. And I felt
How were
like
you
I
able to
was
talk
getting
yourself
ready.
out of it? How were you
What
able
was
to
that, Pearlie?
I said, how were you able to talk yourself out of all of those negative talks that you're hearing in the voices?
Hmm. Hmm. I didn't talk myself out of it at all. I
Hmm.
had to come. So for me, you've probably already guessed this, but faith is an integral part of who I am and what I do. And so for me, it was going back to that place of faith. And okay, what do I actually believe? And if I believe it, am I willing to take action on it? And so I had to come to that place that even if we lose our home, even if we lose our farm, even if the worst case scenario that I can possibly think of in my head happens, Is it worth it? Is it worth it to follow the God, my creator, who is calling me out into something bigger, into something more? Am I willing to risk anything and everything I have to answer that calling? And so when I got to the place where I said, people have been called to die before. I'm being called to just try something new. Okay. So I had to come to the place where I was saying, yes, even if any of this happens, I will follow you. And when I did that, I had this sense of peace that came over me because I knew that I knew that I knew that even if I failed, the safest place for me to fall was into the arms of my loving creator. And I knew that he did not mean this for my destruction. He did not mean this to hurt me or my family. And so no matter what we go through, we're going to come out stronger on the other side because I'm following him and I'm doing what he has called me to do.
It reminds me of Jeremiah 29:11, right? That Bible verse about us,
Absolutely.
being kept from harm, like that we are heeding a higher calling. I love your story.
Mhm.
But through this pandemic and even before that, there is a lot of people, not just in the healthcare profession, in so many different professions, in corporate, for instance, they're burnt out. They feel that it's a
Yep.
thankless job. There are several positions being eliminated, and so they're taking on more responsibilities for the same pay, and they're burnt out. And just like we said, when you have a cushiony job that, and you know that you need the benefits, right? Those are the ones that scare people right now, especially if they are the
Mhm.
breadwinner. So what would you say to those people that may not have like a spouse that contributes regularly to the family income? So I know that there's the faith in us, but the practical side of you, what would you say to those people who are looking to transition in their careers?
Yes, yes. So practically speaking, if you it's one thing to be burned out and like, I can't do this anymore, whatever. In that sense, you may need just to find a coach that can help you work through burnout. But if you believe that you're truly being called to more and you believe that God is calling you into something bigger and better, then He's going to provide for you along the way. We walked, and the hardest thing, I'm going to go left field here for just a second. The hardest thing for us to understand is all these comforts come from man-made systems. God
Mm.
transcends those man-made systems. He doesn't it's nothing to him. And so when we're willing to step out of our comfort zone, there was a book that I read that really helped me in this transition time. It's by John Ortberg, and it's called "If You Want to Walk on Water, You've Got to Get Out of the Boat." You've got to leave the safety and security of all these man-made systems if you're truly going to follow what God has for you. And I can tell you, for me, walking away from that, it has been unreal. We found there are like Christian healthcare sharing networks that you can join that help replace what you've lost as far as insurance goes, that are very affordable. We've had phone calls when we're just about at the end of our rope with, as far as finances go, and it's like, how are we going to pay the mortgage? How are we going to do this? How are we going to whatever? We get a phone call and it's Mrs. Lavelock. I'm not sure how to tell you this, but we made a mistake on your taxes a couple years ago, and you're going to be getting a check for $5,000 in the mail.
Wow.
Time after time after time, I can tell you stories of how we thought we were at the end, and God showed up and gave us what we needed to continue on.
You know what I love about what you're sharing, Natalie? Because I'm also a woman of faith. How there is so much spirituality in what it is that you do that I actually have never seen before. And that makes, like it's a very beautiful, holistic way of guiding others. So let's talk about your
Mhm.
business now. Okay, so you gave up your job as a nurse and even gave up a very fancy title and all the benefits that go with it. Now you are doing something
Mhm.
completely different. Let's talk about your business. What do
Sure.
you
So it go ahead.
Yeah, it's like so what is it that you do and how do you help people?
So here's the beauty of it for me. I'm actually not doing something completely different. I'm doing the same thing that I did, same thing I was trained in with my master's degree to do, the same thing I did for over 15 years in corporate healthcare. I'm just doing it for a new group of people. And I hope that your listeners will hear in this something for them too, hope for them too. That you can take the skills that you've acquired over your years of service, the gifts and talents that you've been given in this life, and shift it and offer it for someone new to solve their problems. So, what I did was I started working with coaches and speakers who need something to sell. They need a program or a product that will transform people's lives that they can sell in their business. So I help them design their high ticket coaching programs, their online courses, their certification training programs, all of those things that need a very focused curriculum to give their clients the best outcome possible so they can earn the right to continue serving them. So
Wow.
it's
And
the
so
same thing, it's just for a new group of people.
okay, so what you were doing before for the hospital, you have basically now you're doing your own business, except now you are instead of servicing only one employer, you are now servicing many individual entrepreneurs and creating
Yes.
the program. So what would you say to somebody like, I don't know what to do. They only know they are of employee mentality, for instance, and they have no idea what to do with their lives if they have to go into entrepreneurship. Where do you begin?
Mhm. So for my clients, we begin in finding out what is your skill set? What is it that you're passionate about? What sets your life on fire? All right. So if you're ready to jump in with both feet, that's where we start and we look at what is who is the group of people you can serve and what are the solutions? What are the results you can get for those groups of people? Now, I'm going to say something here that's not going to be very popular.
Okay, go for it.
It is really, really hard to build a business when you're in a place of scarcity, when you're afraid of how am I going to pay the bills? Okay. So while I turned down that management position and started my own business, I went to another organization and I continued to work PRN. PRN in healthcare setting just means as needed for a few years as I was building my business. So if you have those obligations where you have to take care of your family, it may be the most viable option for you right now in this moment to find something that's part time or find something that's PRN. And the mindset that I approached it, I actually, one of my coaches gave me this, but I latched onto it because it helped me have the fortitude to keep going. And that is if you're doing a part time job or you're working PRN while you're building your business, think about it like going to the bank. I'm going to the bank and I'm drawing out what I need to continue funding this as I move forward. So rather than being in a place of scarcity and rather than being in a place where I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet, I have the basics covered and I'm building on the future.
That's a beautiful mindset because oftentimes, even when with coaching, for instance, people do not see coaching as an investment on themselves, on personal and career development. They see it as an expense. What would you say to them?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't. I don't know how to tactfully say what I would say
Just
to
go for
them
it.
for that. That's pretty much what I would say. Go for it because your life is going to be radically changed. Everything you want is on the other side. I know this is cliche, but everything you want is on the other side of taking that first step, of facing your fear and pushing through it. Um, one of the coaches that I hired, I had never, I was a teacher, I was a trainer. I'm used to being in front of the class. But I'd never gotten on stage in front of a large group of people, let alone tried to sell something from stage. And one of my coaches, the very first time I met them, I wasn't even a client. They just saw me out in the hall before I was getting ready to go on stage and could tell I was a hot mess. And gave me just a few tips right then and there. And I took those tips. I just trusted my coach, who wasn't the coach at the time. But, anyways, I knew this person was a seasoned speaker. Okay. So I took the coaching and I went out and I applied that on the stage in that moment. And I made $7,000 in sales from my very first speaking gig. A
Wow.
few months later, I decided to work with this person and hired them. My very first speaking gig after working with that person, $20,000 in sales.
Wow.
And it has just escalated from that point. So I went from, I don't even know what the heck I'm doing. Why am I up here on this stage? To taking the advice of a coach, closing $7,000 in sales, and then tripling that just a few short months later after the coaching. In the moment of hiring that coach, it's like, oh my goodness, how am I going to pay for this program? I don't have this kind of money sitting around. Where's it going to come from? But I knew that if I didn't say yes, if I didn't take that risk, that I was continuing just to rely on me, and what I was doing wasn't being productive or helpful, on my own. So I said yes to that. I made that commitment, and within just, I think it was like 8 or 12 weeks, tripled what I did that first time on stage. And it's like I said, it's just continued to go up from there. So whether it's life coaching, whether it's business coaching, whether it's speaking coaching, whatever that is, we're all part of a body. Furley, you probably know this analogy too, but the Bible talks about we're all parts of a body. If you're the pointer finger, well, how are you going to hear or taste or smell or see or move? You can't do that by yourself. You've got to have the help of the ears and the eyes and the mouth and the feet and the rest of the body. So, what we're doing is we're connecting and we're exchanging with one another in order to make the whole stronger.
No, Natalie, yeah, that's quite impressive. There's a few things that was going through my head as I'm listening to you. First of all, based on what you also said, like that's what like how are we made? Like, and I'm thinking about ships, right? Like ships were not meant to stay on shore. It's meant to sail, but many people do not go and sail, so they just rot. Basically, they rot and they rust on shore. Now,
Mhm.
because of the pandemic, people are very scared to, it's like maybe it's not a good time because I need to be secure right now. How were you able to continue to be prosperous during pandemic?
Yes. So I'm going to play on your ship analogy with this.
Okay.
All right. So you were talking about, the ships on the shore and everything like that. Um, where is the safest place for a ship during a storm?
Is
Is
it
it tied to a dock? Nope. The safest place for a ship during a storm is out in the bay, where
oh
the water is deep enough, it doesn't hit the bottom, where it's not crashing up against other ships, it's not crashing up against other docks. But the scariest thing to do is pull up anchor and go out into the bay in the face of a storm.
wow, what
Same,
a great analogy. Okay. Mm-hmm.
uh-huh. So the same thing with your business. A storm comes and you're thinking, "Oh shoot, I'm just going to retreat and stay here and ride it out." When what you really need to do is say, okay, let's lock and load. Let's go out to bay. We're going to figure this out. We're going to look around and see what we have at our disposal. What do we have? What resources do we have? What connections do we have? How can we keep this boat afloat till the storm passes? And
Wow.
that's entrepreneurship at the
Woo.
heart.
I hope you guys are listening because that is resilience lesson extraordinaire. Because oftentimes, right? I'm just saying, like, oftentimes resilient, we just keep on adapting to change. But you were very proactive and very, actually, the word I would use is you were very, very strategic in the way you analyze a situation, a challenge. And it's absolutely
Mhm.
very, very powerful. There's a lot of business strategies out there. What would you say makes you different for those people who may want to know, I think I'm ready to go for it. I'm going to follow Natalie's example. Why you?
Yes. So, one of the reasons why me, you can see it right down here at the bottom of the screen. Actually, it's kind of cut off. But, anyways, build a business and a life you love. So many of the coaches you hear in the marketplace today are all about the hustle and grind. Go for it, push hard, do more, keep going, keep pushing harder, keep doing more. And I remember I was at a seminar probably about 6 months ago, and the person on stage, this was a very like high energy, high pressure, high level kind of thing. And they were talking about, you give us 2 years of your life and you'll never have to work another day in your life. And I went, well, first of all, I love what I do, so I don't feel like I'm working
Mm.
anymore anyways. Beyond that, and more importantly, I don't know that I have 2 years and 1 day left on this earth.
Mm.
If I give you 2 years of my life in the way that you're saying to do it, where you let everything go, but pushing and focusing and hustling in this business, and they specifically said, kiss your husband and kids goodbye for 2 years, and then you'll have all the time in the world you want to spend with them from that point forward, and you'll never have to worry about money again. And I said, there's a lot of relationship, there is a lot of memories, there are times I will never get back in those 2 years. And who's to say I will have a family at the end of that 2 years if I neglect them for 2 years? So the difference between me and a lot of coaches is that I show you how to build a business and a life you love. We're building your business in a way that allows your family to thrive, your relationships to thrive, your children to thrive, and your business to thrive. Because there is so much more to life, there is so much more to being here on this earth than building an empire overnight, because you miss out on the most important things in life along the way.
I love that how you keep focus on priorities. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, I'd like to give you the chance to invite people to consult with you. So to see if you're a good fit for them. How do they reach you?
Oh, there's lots of ways you can reach me. You can follow me on Facebook at Natalie Lavelock. You can go to callwithnatalie.com and schedule a complimentary consultation with me. And really, I'm going to share with you my focus, but then I want to tell you what's even more important. My focus is helping you go from idea or struggling to make ends meet to building $1 million product system so that you can thrive. More importantly than that, the reason that I do what I do is because I believe that your life matters. I believe that the programs, the products, the services that you deliver, they're a lifeline to someone in need. And so I believe that it's not just about, our hearts and our passions. I believe it's our responsibility to step up, to step out, to have the faith to say yes and move forward, so that we can be that lifeline. We can be that light on a hill to those who need us the most. And so, if that aligns with you, if that aligns with your mission and your vision and your purpose and where you want to go in life, and you want to have a business and a life that you love, then book a call with me, callwithnatalie.com, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about what that looks like for you.
My goodness. Okay, guys, consider this your wake up call. Because I'm sure so many, there's so many people out there right now. Either they're just like it does, their careers don't light them up anymore. They're bored,
Mhm.
or they're even retired, but they're not ready to give up on life and want to do more things. Or people who may be burnt out, whatever stage you are in your life, and you're figuring out this is not exactly what I want. I would invite you to reach out to Natalie. But as you can very well see, she got her priorities straight. She understands where you are in life and what you want, and she gets you. And most of all, I love the fact that there is a lot of spirituality built into this, wrapped into this, so that you can feel protected. And so, Natalie, it
Mhm.
has been an absolutely wonderful and empowering session to have this with you. Look, I even called it a session already. Because, it didn't even feel like an interview. Oh, I feel like we had like a coaching session, right? So,
We
you
did.
right? And so I would say share this. I'm going to repost this and share it in other forms, because this is your wake up call. This is your chance to explore ways that you can get off the shore and basically, go out there, sail, and embrace your possibilities without having to compromise what matters most in your life. Did I say that well?
Oh, perfect.
Oh, all right. We get each other, girl. I love you for, when I interviewed you on Speakers Need to Speak, I said, "Oh my gosh, what a beautiful soul she is." And also there's a lot of smarts and a lot of system. And remember, Natalie has been very successful creating systems and programs and courses in her previous career, and even basically has escalated into creating more customized programs for you, not for a one company, but for you specifically. So, on that note, I thank you so very much for sharing your light and your wisdom. And I hope that people will latch on to this fabulous connection and begin a new journey in their lives. Any last words?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to share with your audience. You have a beautiful soul as well. And you're exactly right. We have so much in common. This was really a joy and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, until next time, this is Furley Almonte from Faces of Resilience. Until then, live vibrantly, go for it, and sail away. Take care now. Bye bye.